Alrighty. Let us start with everyone rolling a 20-sided die to see who has to do the last week's highlight. Yes, I rolled low this time.
You had a stretch there where you were getting pretty high.
Alright. Alright, Adea, what happened last time?
Okay, so what had happened last time is that we had begun where Leon had apparently with powers that the other players did not know had come to life poor little Kyle who had been killed in a very unfortunate accident. So yeah, everyone was a bit weirded out by that. And it turned out that Kyle, not apparently having any signs of injuries that had caused him to die, didn't know what had happened for like the past 2 weeks. He had amnesia. So yeah, everyone was weirded out by that. Because he knew what happened. No one else knew what happened. He just wanted to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
So they, continued on their way to, wait, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. It was in that house that they met the new player, Don, who is apparently clone, I mean brother. And so, yeah, they don't seem to have too good of a relationship, apparently. But that's for later. That's for character development. This is it. So they all go with the knowledge that Dawn is a is a hunter of said hags, so they're gonna go into the sewers where they think, and they find where the hag was, and she wasn't there, so they're all kind of like, so where is she? Like, well, if she's not here, then she is either, but that's unlikely, or she's going to go collect the children. They go running to the first child's house, which is Georgie. His name's Georgie. They went to Georgie's house. Guess what? He wasn't there. That room that he had, yeah, no, that was broken into, and there's like this large hole where his room should be, and he was gone. And his mother was crying. It was awful. Running to Julia's house. Is that Julia? Or is it Julie?
It's Julie, I
Anyway,
believe.
They went to her house. And guess what? She wasn't there either. Well, this is a problem. And since they were pretty sure that Kyle wasn't, connected to said hag anymore, they went, well, where do we go? And so they came up with the idea of going to the college, possibly getting help there, because there was this guy who could use the coins that apparently have been found out to be part of the hag's teeth, which is disgusting, by the way. Down are. And so Dylan was sent ahead to go deal with that, while the rest of them just ran for literally an hour. It's fun. It's just a whole day of running. So yeah, Dylan got there. He's kind of like over the fact that he had to now deal with Nathaniel, who is nothing but kind to him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he leaves Nathaniel with a bunch of people who are gaining curiosity and said,
Oh! Whoa! Shots fired. I went to college. Don't use that as excuse. Ooh. Ooh. Already getting heated.
He decides to track down the children instead, setting aside Kyle's cornfield, finding out that the hag was running, and she apparently was running to this crack in the wall. Dylan was kind of like, well, this is great. And so he tells the professor to check on Kyle's coins because apparently Kyle was with them to go send a message to friends telling them to all meet at the sewers. Dude does that, and while waiting for his friends to arrive, he has a very interesting conversation with the local guard. And now the guard believes that there is needs to be done, and it's all very strange. So yeah, they're all there, and then they go up to the professor after talking with him and finding out that he had left and was heading in the direction of the mountains. And so they kind of were like, well, we gotta teleport if we want to catch up with her. And so, yeah, they go up on there, but then all of a sudden, Dylan's romantic interest shows up and everyone gets a little bit, well, not everyone, mostly just Dylan and his brother Don get sidetracked for a moment before they are dragged into the room by Orville and Leon. So they were all teleported to the mountain where everyone had suffered greatly, but no one suffered more than the poor owl.
His feathers along with me in my pack.
That the DM is just heartbroken over.
Absolutely.
Really heartbroken.
Ooh. You guys are just attacking each other today. Did something happen between everyone that I don't know?
No, it's just playful banter, it's alright.
I hope so.
In all honesty, they're all great people in my opinion. But anyway, back on to storytelling. Too long. So yeah, they all get there, the owl dies, peace out, and everyone goes to camp for the night after deciding that they're gonna camp there and wait for the hag to possibly arrive, or at least come up with a plan, possibly coming around. We had ended with, I'm pretty sure, Leon getting attacked by a thing in the sky that Don had kind of like all about. He didn't know exactly what it was, so yeah, that's where we are.
All right. So, we are starting with this thing coming at you, and we're all gonna roll initiative, and hold on, let me pull up the initiative thing first. All right.
It's amazing when you forget how to do initiative.
I have 2 Jones on here. I'll get rid of the one that was the higher because I think you got a 6 on this time. Oh my goodness! All right. This thing's getting a good start with its rolls here.
Can someone please inform me where initiative is again?
So in your character sheet, there should be a box that says initiative.
It's similar to a box of chocolate. At the top, there it just says initiative.
Yeah, it's in between speed and armor class. So you gotta remember to. Yep. Okay, so you got it. Nice. So Dylan, not Dylan. Who? Okay, so you got a 17. You're supposed to click on your token first.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got rid of that one. And then that one. So 17. And turn. 17. Come on, roll 20. Don't be dumb. All right, so Leon, it is your turn first. You actually, yeah, because someone yelled, right?
I think Leon yelled.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I saw it first. Now it's kind of like, everyone wake up. Literally, that's what I said.
Okay. So, with that being said, it is your turn. With your dark vision, you are able to get a fairly clear image of what this thing is. You see that it is a massive creature with 2 hind legs with 3 razor sharp claws at the end of its feet. It has 2 arms, but like a bat, at the end of its fingers elongate into massive wings, nearly the size of like a small sailboat. It has protruding from between its shoulders a long cobra, like a king cobra looking neck, with a fairly large sized maw with razor sharp teeth and a flailing forked tongue. It also has 2 elongated spiked horns just behind its eyes, and it has a long tail reaching probably about 10 feet long, like that has a very large spike with barbs protruding from the back of the tail. No. I do, but I'll leave this one to your guys' imagination.
But why? He's like, you guys, we gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta run. And then he's gonna like run
So it's like a
towards Joan and try to grab her.
Cobra dragon
Yeah.
or something.
It's not a dragon.
I'm not even going to attempt that. No, thank you.
So it's a large-sized category creature, and it is coming at you.
What it is.
You can give me a history check, I'd say. History or nature. I'll give you one of those.
They're both bad for me. This is okay.
You got a 20. So you definitely know that what this thing is. You never thought you would ever see this type of creature around here, but you have heard of it from other of your kin who are more attuned to these types of creatures of the outer world. You recognize this to be a wyvern.
Wyvern, that's what it's called.
Yeah, no, we're not fighting that. It's a winter.
You know that they are extremely dangerous. They are also extremely venomous. One sting could instantly kill a horse.
Yeah, we're going.
They are also extremely territorial and are very hostile, and they love to hunt. And the last thing that I will also tell you before you do what you do on your turn, You do know that wyverns or anything of its kind, cousin or directly related to wyverns, are not usually around Astria. So this thing could be the only one of its kind in Astria.
Yeah, guys, it's a Wyvern. We gotta go. We gotta run. Get up, get up, get up, get up. And he's gonna go run to Joan and try to grab.
Alright, so since this is at an incline, each of the squares around here are difficult terrain. And each of the squares equals 5 feet. So each square would be 10 feet since it's difficult terrain. That's up to you.
Because he wanted the fire.
Mm-hmm. So is that all you're going to do? Is you're going to run to Joan? You want to move your token?
I would like to gesture, just like, what?
I know, he's gonna run down, like, try to get his attention. He changed directions.
Okay. So you go up 10 feet? Or down 10 feet? Where are you moving?
I'm trying to do math really quickly.
Oh no, guys, run! Trying to do.
Oh, Rob, we gotta go.
He can only go like 3 feet at a time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Hey. Yeah, question about the Wyvern. Are they intelligent? Like, do they understand, language?
Would I know that with my 20?
You would know that they are not intelligent, no.
They're not intelligent. They probably don't know what you're gonna try to say. So don't even try. We gotta go.
So where are you moving, Leon?
I'm going to move opposite to Joan.
Yeah, I have a question, Leon. Where the hell are we gonna go?
5, so 10, 20, 30, 40 that way?
Not 40, 30.
Okay. Are you going to do anything else after that?
I was here in the beginning, so I won here.
Okay, are you going to do anything after that, though?
I'm going to scream and get its attention so that it goes after me and not anyone else.
Okay.
Just stay in the cave and say where.
Really?
Here's
It's
how
really
the size of the
territorial. It's really territorial.
How does the size of the creature, like how large is its
They're
wingspan and
literally
its
yelling
shoulder
at
width?
you.
It's all around, it's a large size category creature. So it's probably within like 10, 15 feet with its wingspan. And probably about within 10 to 15 feet tall. Its
Torso is probably only like 3-4 feet wide.
Yeah. So it flies directly towards you, and it stays 10 feet up in the air away from you, Leon. And first it's going to take its tail and fling it at you, and when it comes at you, it hisses and just lets out this nasty high-pitched roar that echoes across the mountainsides and down into the deep valleys. And does a 21 hit you?
Yeah.
All right.
Hold on, I want to see.
What?
Yeah.
If you're gonna use one of your bard things, you have to say it before you know the roll.
Well, that's not fair. I had enough time to react.
I'm. You can use it on whatever, but you have to say you're using it before you know the roll. I'm pretty sure. All right. So you're going to take 11 points of piercing damage, and I want you to give me a a Constitution saving throw.
Yeah, okay. Wait, why am I messing with the Arcana?
This might
Okay.
be a good time for bardic inspiration. I can only give it on my turn. I know. I'm just pointing it out. Thank you for pointing out my inefficiencies. Well, it's not an inefficiency. It's just a busy.
Why am I not rolling my Constitution? Oh, no. Right, no.
I guess I only do have 5d6. Do you need help finding your con save?
No, I see where it is. It's just...
It's not showing up.
Okay, so it doesn't need to understand me, but it does need to be able to hear me and not.
There, I was able to roll it.
Did I do it? Oops.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
So you do save.
Really? Oh!
Still roll the dice.
You take 10 points of poison damage as you feel poison enter into your bloodstream, and you can just feel the blood in you just warms up like lava, and you can even hear the sizzling of your skin as you feel the stinger go right into your leg, and it's extremely painful. And then it's gonna come down at you with a bite attack as it reaches and lunges at you. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna roll d6 and subtract. As long as it can hear me, I'm sure it doesn't understand me, but it can hear me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not immune to charm.
Go ahead and roll.
4, so it subtracts 4 from its attack.
All right, so only got a 10.
Dylan. Thanks, Dylan.
I just look at the dragon and like, yo, fuck off.
Well, even though you're in the cave, but
I don't know. I know it doesn't understand my language, but I probably figure it's a universal symbol.
I would think.
so you just like scream at like "Oi!" and it's a little distracted by it as it like still goes for the bite, and then immediately like turns back behind it as it's flying, hearing the booming shout from the cave below. That is all it can do on its turn. And Don, it is your turn.
So this is happening, like, can I see this going on?
No, you're in the cave. This is on top of the cave.
Yeah, I'm going to die.
I don't think there's a way out of this, guys. I mean,
No, we're going to die.
The creature can just let's go into the cave. We can't let it have the advantage of being in the air. Yeah, right. That drowning is probably.
What you gonna do, Don? I mean, you'd be outside the cave, but not right outside. You'd have to be like right here. But if you go there, you wouldn't be able to see the wyvern. So as long as you have the movement speed to move there, then yeah.
I'm such an idiot. I should have raged.
Yeah. That would have been a good idea.
So what are you gonna do next, Don? That would be a... I'd say that would probably... You would have to use your action for an investigation check.
Pretty sure we would have noticed, like, maybe, like, if this was their nest, or if there were, like, wyvern hidings in here.
Yeah, and plus the nesting would have been a sure sign. The nesting
You don't know. Maybe this wyvern likes to keep its den clean.
Not to mention it probably hangs upside down because it's bat-like.
Since we are technically in my particular terrain,
Hey, why doesn't my health go down? I'm at like 3 health.
you adopted a token independently.
Okay, Zach, you're gonna have to repeat what you said because some people were talking and I didn't hear what you said.
What?
You started to talk about your favorite terrain, and Adea and Morgan were talking over you, and I didn't hear what you said.
In my favorite terrain, while tracking their exact number, their size, and how long ago they passed through the area. But that technically work in this game was technically the Wyvern stone. It's why it's nagging us for now.
I mean, you're not tracking it. You're trying to gather info. So
Investigate.
I would say an investigation. The DC will be low.
14.
There aren't really very many signs to see that a creature like this would have roamed around this area. One other thing I also noticed is that difficult terrain doesn't slow your group's travel.
Correct.
So, that one's tricky. Because it wouldn't really make sense for... Like, I guess if it was like you were traveling, like everyone was going as a group, but when you're in combat...
Yeah.
I'll just say difficult terrain doesn't count for you guys since you have him in your favorite terrain.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the whole shebang.
Yep.
Alright, so you used your movement and you used your action. Is there something with your bonus action you want to do on your turn?
No.
Okay. Joan, it is your turn.
And it's the large blue square.
Yep.
So do we get a picture now that we know what it is?
Oh.
Oh.
Nice.
Okay. Possibly. Little carousel surprise. And you know what's great? If I disengage, they'll get attack of opportunity.
That's what disengage does, right? It prevents attacks of opportunity.
Mm-hmm. So what you doing, Joan?
That is a lovely question. Okay.
Go into the cave. Go into the
Oh,
cave.
I think I forgot. Shoot, I forgot to roll Vorpal's initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah, but say, Vorpal better be helping out with this fight.
I mean,
Oh shoot, he would have went before the Wyvern, but since that was my fault.
I have a question. Would we have gotten the benefits of a short rest if we were only got at least an hour?
I'd say no.
was that for the 2 things, though?
You could just have Vorpal hold until right before mine, and you can go before.
No, we'll keep it how it is in initiative.
Alright then. I would like to use my full movement to run down the slope, and so I can move 9 squares.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to use half and stop and fire an arrow at it, then use the other half.
So if you're like pretty much anywhere around, unless if you're either over here on this side of the cave or up here, you won't be able to see the wyvern.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can I see it from my starting position up here?
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to shoot it before I move anywhere.
Okay. Give me that attack roll. That is a hit. Do your worst. Alright, so your arrow goes through this wyvern's scaly skin, and the arrowhead sinks into its flesh. As you do this, it rears back its head and lets another terrifying screech. And it does not look happy.
That seems reasonable.
Is there anything else you would like to do?
Yes, one sec. Oh. That's a bonus action. I had to do that first. Oh well.
Wait, why'd you move back?
Because I can't see the wyvern once I start moving. So need to fire, then move. So I have done my PP. I'm now going to move down.
Okay.
Right at the mouth of the cave.
Alright. Dylan, it is your turn.
Well, this campaign's over.
Alright.
Okay. Might be dangerous. Might not do anything. But
Dylan just
hold on. Okay,
Nothing's over here.
Okay, I'm gonna use minor illusion to make the sound similar to what has the Wyvern chord yet?
Twice.
Okay. I'm going to use this. I'm gonna duplicate. I'm gonna use minor illusion to duplicate the sound of the Wyvern, make it like 5 times as loud, but come from inside the cave. Try to fool it into thinking that even bigger creature. Oh, you're on my property now. Get out.
Okay. Alright, so you do this. And everyone hears this like extremely nasty roar. And Leon, since you were the one that has all this information, when you hear this loud roar, like at first you're scared because you think there's something bigger is happening, but then you also are like, oh shit. We're about to have a wyvern fight.
oh, why would you do that? Why would you?
I did it for you. Be thankful.
So if that's it for Dylan.
Really territorial.
Actually, I'm just trying to make it sound like, but I made it 5 times louder, so that like it thinks like it's even a bigger wyvern. It's like now you people encroaching on its territory.
Mm-hmm.
But Dylan, they're extremely territorial.
I'm gonna give a bonus. I guess I can only give 2. I look around and I look at my brother, look at Joan.
Vorpal's just in the back. Hello.
I don't know how powerful Vorpal is. I kind of vaguely know how powerful these other 2 are. What the heck did I say? Use bardic inspiration on Vorpal, and I'm like, go get him.
Okay. Leon, it is your turn. So you know that essentially wyverns are so territorial that even if there's like they're territorial, but they're also kind of competitive too. So if there is a bigger wyvern, other smaller, possibly weaker wyverns will challenge it for territory. These things are very ballsy, and They.
Well, it's a little late for that.
So you have a very bad feeling that the wyvern is probably going to go down in that cave and fight whatever bigger wyvern it thinks is in there to try to assert dominance.
You know what? Just to possibly keep this thing from killing these people and possibly, making the dumbest decision of my life besides not raging, of course.
It's not too late.
Yeah, but if I do that, then I'm not able to attack it, and if it doesn't attack me for a turn, then.
It also is 10 feet in the air, so you, unless if you have a weapon that has a 10-foot reach, then you won't be able to attack it with a melee attack.
Yeah, but I have an idea.
Okay.
Okay, so I have this feat called athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of sparks an idea in my brain. So I'm kind of like pole vaulting
Okay.
my great sword to basically pole vault myself at this wyvern. I'll probably die.
Technically, if you're raging, you should have advantage on like strength checks.
But that's an action.
It's a bonus action
Bonus action.
to rage.
Oh, it's a bonus action?
Yep.
Bonus action rage.
Alright, so you let out this nasty roar challenging this creature, and again, it seems to, its attention is towards the bigger one, but when it hears you roar, it does kind of like bring its attention back for a second.
Oh, sweet. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to do my pole vaulting trick. Athletics, I would think.
Yep.
Alright then.
Alright, so you pole vault yourself with your greatsword onto the creature. Now, where exactly are you planning to land?
On its head.
On its head?
Crack its head off.
Okay,
On top of his head.
so go ahead.
It's like turning towards the other.
Go ahead and make me a grapple athletics check to see if you can hang on to this creature first. This will use your action, so you won't be able to attack it. Let's see. What would it want to use? It'll use that one. Okay. You were actually able to latch onto its head.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever done.
And it just kind of goes.
I was actually thinking of doing the same thing, so it's fine.
It would have to be really stupid to try to sneak them while you're holding onto its head. Obviously, apparently, wyverns are not intelligent.
Anything else? Well, you.
Be my action, correct?
Yep.
So, I'm going to hang on to this thing.
Okay. So Vorpal.
I'm going to, like, cover its eyes.
Vorpal runs out. It runs out. He runs out of the cave and actually pulls out his longbow and pulls out an arrow and pulls it back and launches it at the wyvern. And when he sees Leon, he yells before he lets it go. He says, "Leon, get away from that thing!" And then lets go of the arrow.
Like an explosive arrow or something? I'm literally, like, living on a thread right here.
No, it is not.
I mean, does it explode them? 'Cause otherwise, I think it's a good idea.
Well, unless you do a natural one, I don't think.
So you see Vorpal when he pulls back on this arrow, you see the arrow like the shaft of it seems to be made out of some sort of like almost like bone. And the same and the arrow tip seems to be made of some sort of like maybe like the end of a fang. and where the feathers were, they looked like scales. And when he launches the arrow, it actually goes straight through the wyvern, almost as if like the wyvern was just a slightly heated stick of butter. It just goes right through it, and blood just oozes and splats all over the face of the mountain, and it lets up this nasty roar. And then he gets out another arrow and launches another one. Yep. Wow. Same damage.
Vorpal, you remember when I said you're compensating for something? I take it back.
So he lets out another arrow, and another one goes right through it. And you actually see that these arrows are kind of like a how do I explain this? I don't really. I'm honestly not very well versed with bullets, but I would say kind of like a I want to say a buckshot. The entrance wound leaves a hole about as big as a 50-cent piece, but on the other side, it's like a fucking huge chunk of this wyvern. It's just getting torn out the other side. These arrows are extremely effective and very dangerous to this thing, and he, of course, on his next, he then pulls out another arrow, and again yells at Leon to get the hell off of that wyvern. And it is the wyvern's turn. So the wyvern is going to try to attack Leon, but since Leon has a hold of where its eyes are, it has disadvantage on its attacks. Oh, that only affects it if it's a deck. That's only if it's a deck save, not an attack roll. So you're very lucky. I want to let you know. This thing on disadvantage got a low of a total of 9, and its highest, it got a nat 20. So you are extremely lucky that it did not. That you have it has disadvantage. And it's gonna go ahead and try to sting at you again. All right. Again, you are very lucky. It only rolled an 11. So it's Dawn. Only Dawn can see this in the party. But Dawn, you're seeing as this wyvern is like flying in the air, holding Leon with these massive, with these little entry wounds on its one side that you can see. And you see that its stinger is just trying to thrust at Leon, but it just can't get to him. It doesn't have good sight of him. And it is your turn, Dawn.
We get like a health bar on the wyvern.
Nope. I will tell you that it is bloodied. Vorpal was able to bloody it in 2 hits. Sorry, no. I was wrong. He was able to bloody it in 1 hit. I think. No, 2 hits. Sorry, I did my math wrong. I'm dumb. Don't listen to me. First of all, what spell are you using? So Leon, if we look at this, Leon is technically right here. Hey, you know what? You know what? That might be what you need, Dylan, just to get your grades up. Yeah, so it would be within 5 feet. In addition, the normal effect, yeah, it would hit Joan. Or not Joan, fucking Leon. I mean, frickin', I don't care. Hold on. What, Dylan?
So is Jones' arrow still lodged inside of?
Yes.
Okay.
So what are you doing, Don? What are you gonna do? Alright, that is a hit. Yep. You click longbow on the chat. Alright, so your arrow sinks fairly deeply into its skin, but not as effective as Vorpal's, but still, you got a good hit on it. Anything else? Joan.
I would like to move around the fire and follow Vorpal.
Okay.
Follow his lead! And I would like to use Mark of the Kensai. No, sorry, Kensai shot. So if I do hit it, I do extra damage. That's my bonus action.
Okay.
Okay. So apparently, I actually did my cutting words wrong because I technically should have been able to do it because I didn't realize I couldn't see the dragon earlier. But I guess we'll just know that for the future.
You have to see it.
Yeah.
That's what I figured, but I was like, man, maybe I did it wrong.
Probably doesn't make sense because it's like a vocal thing.
Well, I think it's not that. I think it's the fact that you have to see the attack to know that it's happening in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was to be blindfolded and someone else was about to punch someone, I would need to know they were going to make the punch on someone else in order to even start distracting them.
I mean, can we just go back and say that I just retcon and say that I wasn't in the cave?
I was just gonna say that it still worked, and then you're just still in the cave. Like it already happened. It's a little too late. Yes. That's a hit, Joan. Well, if it didn't, it still wouldn't have hit. It rolled very low. So 13, nice.
That's the one thing I meant to do.
This thing is looking pretty bad. Your arrow actually goes so far into its leg that it like sticks out on the other side.
Nearly as good, Vorpal. Not quite, though.
He says, "This isn't a competition, Joan."
Never said it was. Stick it out.
Dylan's like holding out my hand like, wait,
All right, okay, all right, Dylan.
okay,
All right.
Dylan's time to shine. Gotta finish this guy off. I come out a little bit and I see it. So there are a bunch of arrows stuck inside the creature.
There are 3 of them only.
Okay. I look quick at Jonah and Don. I'm like, your arrows are capped with metal, right? Like the arrowheads.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna try something that I've never tried before.
As long as it doesn't hurt me anymore, please.
It's called fireball.
Yet.
I don't know how to cast fireball yet. I cast.
All right.
Level spell. Okay.
I mean, it has a very, very long neck, so it would be able to rip out any of the ones you choose.
Okay. I'd do that one. My heat metal on one.
Okay, so roll your damage.
Five.
All right. There is the nasty sound of and it just all right. And anything else?
I use my bonus action to give my friend Leon. I pull for friend Leon. I pull innocent, brave, but not quite intelligent friend Leon. I use my bonus action to give him bardic inspiration. And also, I really have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Okay. Leon, it is your turn.
Okay, so would it be action or a bonus action to get off of it?
You can just hop off from it, but you will take fall damage since you are 10 feet in the air. It is.
Dexterity save?
You can.
But would that be an action or a bonus action? If I
You would just do it. It wouldn't take up anything.
okay, so
Usually, what I do is that you can make a, if it's 20 feet or higher, or so you can make a dex save to try to take half damage, unless if it's only 10 feet. If it's 10 feet, then you just ignore the damage. Anything more than that, so if you take more than 1d6 falling damage, you only half the damage, but anything of 1d6, you take nothing. You don't take anything at all.
Well, it's not flying yet, so.
It is flying.
Oh, kidding.
It's been flying the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So you can go ahead and make me the dex save.
yeah, but before that, I wanted to do something.
Okay.
So while it is screaming and howling in pain, I'm going to at least try to hit it once.
Okay, first of all, what are you hitting it with?
Sword.
Your greatsword? I will say that if you're going to use both of your hands, you will have disadvantage because you're trying to keep a hold onto this creature while also attacking without your hands. So you will have disadvantage. You would have I'm going to say you have disadvantage.
Do a dragonborn. Just stand on top of the dragon.
So while it is howling in pain, I'm going to try to use the greatsword and basically shove the greatsword down its throat.
Okay. Make the attack roll with disadvantage.
Okay, I think I put it into disadvantage. I did, and so now greatsword.
All right, 24 either way. That's a hit.
Sweet. Okay, so now greatsword. 16.
You shove it down. You shove the great. Everyone sees as Leon just takes his greatsword in a big rage as he's getting flailed left and right. He somehow tucks the blade from, through into its gullet and stabs into its throat. And you actually see a bit of his greatsword come out the back of its neck. And when you pull it out, you expect it to stop flying, but it still is flying in the air. Although now its roars and its screams are now nothing but like gurgles.
Okay. So my greatsword, I'm going to drop down.
All right, give me that dex save.
The greatsword in its mouth. Basically, like,
You're leaving it in there?
get in there.
Okay.
Basically going to use my greatsword.
Okay, make me the dex save.
Hopefully drop me down.
Make me the dex save.
Dex save. This one is normal. Wait, I have advantage.
No, that's only.
Inspiration.
N-
Bardic inspiration if you want to use
The Bardic Inspiration is you roll a d6 to any roll you want, and then you add that.
Within the next minute.
Yeah. So roll your deck save, and you don't have advantage.
Okay.
And then if you feel like you need to use the Bardic Inspiration, you roll a d6.
No, I think you're good.
All right, yeah. So you're able to go onto the ground. You roll for a couple seconds. You're able to like catch yourself onto your feet, and you turn and look back. Wrong thing. Okay, we're just gonna do this.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Anything else?
I'm going to go to the, I can't go anywhere. If I do have this attack of it, a strike on me if I try to disengage.
Yes, but it does have disadvantage, I believe,
Yeah, from the
because of heat metal.
Oh, okay. Well,
You're gonna take the chance.
I live life to the fullest. My whole life has come up to this point. If I was really going to die.
So you're gonna move. All right, it's gonna try to attack you with a stinger attack.
I thought it would.
It misses.
Oh, thank God. And I'm going to go join my friends.
You want to move your token? There's a ruler.
Yeah, just like right next to Dylan, I like pat him on the back for like a good job, and I'm going to just sit down.
All right.
I'm not gonna sit down. I'm gonna stand because I kind of want to know if we're gonna all run. Or
I don't know, this thing's pretty close, and I'm pretty sure Vorpal's about to finish it off.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's my it's Bardic Inspiration yet.
Do you give him Bardic Inspiration?
I think we do.
Wait,
I couldn't see you.
I understand. Don't worry. It's okay.
I don't even think any character we even know what Bardic Inspiration is in character.
Yes, because you use it.
I mean, I guess it's sort of like inspiring. How does Bard magic even work? That's like one of the biggest questions for the universe. Claire, it's like I'm magic, like my magic. How is my I guess fucking warlock. Warlock. So I thought I was like, hey, pick this little furniture, and I was like, hell yeah. And a wizard's like, I'm a nerd. I study a lot. But Bard, I feel like I was just like, so lazy.
All right.
Kind of like,
So, Vorpal this time takes out an arrow from his other quiver that doesn't look anything like the other ones, and launches it at this creature. All right, and you see that when he launches the arrow, he aims right into its head, and the arrow sinks deep into its skull, and it flies, and then in an instant it just falls to the ground and slams, and dirt and dust flies up in the air, and now we are out of initiative.
And now Leon is going to sit down and just as he 3 hit points away from dying.
does Vorpal go to check on the dragon?
Yep, he goes right up to it, and you see that he actually pulls out his massive greatsword, and then goes up to its tail, and with one hit just lops off the end of it. And
While he's not looking at us, I'm going to cast Cure Wounds on my friend Leon. I'm going to block
Mm-hmm. So you see that Vorpal takes the end of the stinger and lifts it up, and you see two different fluids kind of ooze out. One of them is blood, and the other one is like this dark, like really dark green, almost black substance. And he actually takes a vial from a side pouch on his waist and fills it up and then corks it. And he gets
That wyvern skin could help
couple.
you with armor.
Oh my god, you're right.
Plus, how much money would it get us if we skin it?
And you see that he actually gets actually no, he doesn't do it with vials. You see he actually he empties out his water skin and just nearly fills it with this really nasty venom. And then he sets it down to the side, and then he pulls out all the arrows and he gives them back to their original owners. And he approaches Leon, and he says, "We need to get your wounds washed out quick."
Leon gains 1d8 plus my charisma healing. I did this while I wasn't looking.
Yep.
Okay, 1d8. 7. We get 7 plus 5, so 12. You get 12 hit points back.
Oh, that is so nice.
Vorpal kind of looks at like the rest of you and says, "Does anyone have any spare water that we can use to wash off his wounds? That poison will linger for a long time."
I think you just dumped the water that we could have used for him.
Yeah.
Yes, we have others.
Wait, did any of while that was happening, did my hood fall off?
Probably. Unless he got like a super glue.
I mean, I don't know. Does he have a hood that's very well
I mean, to be fair,
tied down so it doesn't goes down?
there was nothing stopping him like putting it back up when he like got off the dragon.
That is true.
True. Alright, I'm not gonna worry about it. But did any of my blood get on it? Probably did. That's a stupid question.
Probably. Can make this whole
I did it.
We gotta, okay, everybody, put the cops in here. We gotta make it look like an accident.
So Don, you pull out your water skin. All right, Vorpal holds out a gauntleted hand. Do you give it to him?
Yes, I do.
All right, so with the water skin, you actually see that he very lightly uses water to wash off your wounds, Leon. And at this point, oh God. So while he's washing off your wounds, you see that he kind of stops for a second, and then then you see that his helm looks up at you in the eyes, and then he moves his arm back to the direction of where Don is without leaving what you think is eye contact, because you can't actually see his eyes, but you can feel that he's giving you eye contact.
Yeah, I am kind of like, oh shit. Like, Ollie is,
Everyone does.
Ollie is kind of like freaking out. It's just like, yeah, you know what? This is going to happen at some point. But if he doesn't say anything, I won't say anything.
So Don, do you take your water skin back?
What has he done with my water?
All he did is he used some of it to wash out the wounds, and then he basically is like handing it to you without looking at you. So I imagine that Vorpal had you sit down on like a rock nearby, and he's kind of like squatted down, and he stands up looming over you, and he says, while looking at you, One thing that I would like to make perfectly clear with you all is I would like honesty. I do not care if either of you have magics to heal, or if you have any potions to. Such resources are very valuable, and I would like to know what we have to better plan out our travels. And then he turns and looks at you, Dylan, and he says, last time I knew you were the only one with the power of magics. Did you do that?
To me?
No, to Dylan. The only person named Dylan.
You know Dylan, the guy named Dylan, the only name, one named Dylan. Yo, Dylan.
He does, but he definitely knows you don't have healing magic. Okay. Well, I, as a DM, did not know that. So he's looking at Dylan.
It's just like Leon in the background is just like sighs in relief and like puts his head against the rock. I'm just gonna go to sleep now.
Can I insight check him to see, like, if he's telling the truth, like he ain't a snitch?
Who?
Oracle.
This is my life. Trust him.
Yes.
Okay, insight check. 5.
Insight check.
Ah! I was said. You do have like this sense from his like, you don't really have very much to read off on except for his voice. From what you can detect in his voice is that he's not very happy that someone had just used healing magic behind his back without anyone letting him know that he has it. Whether if he's like whether if he's lying or telling the truth, I'd say verbally you have a feeling that he's not telling the truth.
So I don't think he's true about, like, not being a snitch.
Right.
You're not quite sure, but you do have a suspicion.
Would I have Pheonix if I was to do this insight check, if he's a snitch or not, since I do have been with him a few times?
Well, I'll say that you know that Vorpal is the individual who doesn't really care about religious matters with people. So you have a feeling that if he was to snitch, he wouldn't snitch on them by the king or by the high priest. He probably would tell someone from the Adventures League.
I'd like to go over and just kind of examine the wyvern's body.
Okay.
Like Leon like watches her go. It's like, hey, don't.
Is Leon? There he is.
Yeah, don't. I gotta talk with you. Yeah, it's gonna like get up and follow Joe. Yeah, so I almost died. You know, almost dying gives you a lot to think about. And I gotta tell you something before I die, because it's really important that you do know this, okay?
Are you saying this out loud?
Serious. No, he's like whispering to her, just like dead serious, looking her in the eye.
As we stand near the wyvern.
Can I whisper to Oracle?
What are you saying?
To tell him that, I have healing magic, to let him, or to remind him, but that's basically about it.
He looks at you and he says, "Did you heal him?"
No. I was too busy watching
He looks back at Dylan, and you would know that like he probably is just cutting you off. Like he's not even listening to anything else you further have to say. All right, so back to Leon.
Yeah, I'm just gonna lean towards Leon and look at the wyvern's head while I talk.
Which still has the great sword, by the way.
Yep. Should get that mounted. Anyway, he's going to like pull her aside a little bit more, like a little bit farther away from from the others, because it's really important that no one else hears this.
What's going on?
Like, just trust me. You need to know this before I die. Just come on, come here.
I think we're all glad that you aren't dead. I hope you aren't planning on going anywhere anytime soon.
He's going to slip into Elven and like whisper really, really softly. It's really important.
I don't say anything in response. I just kind of lean a little closer.
You want to give me a stealth, Leon? Give me a stealth.
This is great. One of my greatest assets.
The one, isn't it?
No, actually it isn't.
She hasn't rolled. Wow. Okay. All right. You got an 11.
Okay. You know,
All right, continue.
I'm going to say this really quickly. It's going to get me killed. I know that. And I almost died, so it doesn't really matter. Honestly, I died a little over at Kyle's house. Actually, most important part of me died. Anyway, not important. They believe that you're becoming too close, and they sent me to kill you if you...
What? Wait, what? What?
They believe that you're getting much too close to them.
I've only been here a year.
Yeah. How much did you feel for Charlie?
Charlie was a good companion. He and I helped each other on a few occasions.
Dylan?
What about Dylan?
I think I'm kind of. Yeah, what about
DM comes down from the clouds. No metagaming. Puts you back. Pat you on your head. Little small boy, you can't be in everything. Vorpal's gonna say, so that was you that did it.
I don't say anything. I kind of look around to see where Joan and Leon.
So, Leon, and I put it in very exaggerated quotes and put a hand on Leon's shoulder as I hope you realize Dylan is a companion who I'm making use of expecting us to return?
Honestly, no. I don't think they would be. At least not me, of course. Or you. Because they sent me to kill you.
That would be us, wouldn't it?
If things were to go on.
So, if things are to go on in which direction, what do we need to do to assuage their concerns?
Honestly, I don't think there is any compromise with them anymore.
I'm going to kneel down and kind of examine the wyvern's head where the sword's just sticking through it. Kind of like look at the fangs.
Okay. So going back to Vorpal, Don, and Dylan. Dylan, when you like kind of like look to the side of Vorpal, you kind of see that Leon and Joan are in some conversation. They're not being very open about it either. Vorpal will respond to you, and he says, we do have our secrets, but it is still a nice thing to know of the abilities that we all have that could help each other in this. We are no longer in the safety of the capital. We are in the border of the Feywild in Astria. Every turn, there could be a creature who somehow crawled from under or flew over that wall. And when it comes to attack us, we will need to be prepared for such things.
Anyway, as I have told you this, I want you to know, which is ironic because I can only count up to 3. Number 1, that when feel resentment towards you for doing so. You'd only be doing your duty, and I understand that. Number 2, my name is Marvell. I would recommend you call me Leon to the crew. And number 3, the reason as to why I told you my real name is that for when I die, you do not use any form of necromancy on me. Not only that, I want you to put my name on my headstone. So, yeah, good talk. If there's anything that you want to talk about, I guess now would be the point because I basically told you everything that I want to tell you.
Fair enough. How did you know where I was?
Who else would I know where you are? They used a scrying ball on you.
Fair enough. And you don't think there's any way I could ever go back?
You're cutting out, I'm sorry.
You don't think there's any way I could ever go back?
You cut out again. Why is it cutting out for me? Do I have to restart this? This is like a really deep situation, and then this is just super weird.
I was just saying, you don't think there's any way that I could go back?
Are you...
I will tell you.
Is there any way that you can go home? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes. Adea?
That is correct.
Yes.
My thing is going crazy. Okay. Honestly, I don't even know at this point. All I know is that they are crazy, and 3 children I apologize. That was not the time.
I'm sorry. My sense of sarcasm is quite weak. If it makes you feel any better, I've heard you cutting out too. Bye.
You both sound fine to me.
Wait, what?
I've heard you cutting out too.
Yeah.
So, Vorpal at this point turns away from Dylan and looks at you and Leon, and he says, Leon, you need to get to bed. The sooner that you can sleep, the quicker that them wounds can heal and shut any lingering poisons from entering into your respiratory system. Joan, be careful around that thing. Do you pull the greatsword from his throat? Do you pull the greatsword from his throat?
Yes. That's like I'm walking by, like I walk around it and then just goodbye. Good night.
Rest well, Leon.
Joan, you
I don't
be
think I
ca-
will.
Joan, you will need to be careful around that thing. One wrong step and you could get poisoned as well.
Hey, is there a way we could, like, slip sell this game for lots of money?
Do you ask Vorpal that?
Yes.
He looks at you.
Don't worry, Vorpal. I'm not planning on touching.
He looks at you after Joan is done talking, and he says, a wyvern scale is not the toughest material to have. Not to mention, even if you were to skin it, you would need to preserve it. It is very quick to dry after the creature is dead. If you were to sell it, not very many people in Astria would want to buy it, because not many of them even know what a wyvern is, let alone to give it a price or a value. Not to mention, having a creature like this on the other side of the wall, if there was any signs of it lingering around, could strike some fear and some panic. And I would much rather not deal with such an affair.
So, Vorpal, if no one knows what a wyvern is, what do you intend to do with its...
He,
That's to use it.
he looks at you. He looks at you and he says, "Does Leon actually say that?"
Yes.
Vorpal's helmet looks at you, Joan, and then he points with his thumb to the cave, as if suggesting what he said. Wyverns are extremely rare. Having its poison is one of the most deadliest materials in all of the land. They would be very valuable for me to have for future. For the future. I suppose. I suppose you can.
Sweet. I go over to the wyvern and I try to get like one of its big incisors, like one of the biggest teeth it has out.
Give me a survival.
Actually, I look at Don and I'm like, hey Don, brother of mine, do you mind cutting out his teeth? I'm not very good at it.
You also get one for me. Yeah, because this is like
Leon also wants to.
Okay. If you're gonna rip out all of them, give me a survival roll. This is gonna be a high check to do all of them, and then I'm gonna roll a percentile die to see how many of them, if you succeed, you actually pull out. So you won't be able to get all of them. Maybe. There's a chance you can, but it's not very likely. If you're proficient with it, then he gets advantage, but Sure. Oh, 16. Alright, so you get 76. Okay. I gotta do some math here. You are able to successfully pull 36 teeth out from its mouth.
I'm gonna hand the largest one.
12 of them you accidentally either break them or chip them to the point where they wouldn't be very valuable or very useful. So there's 48 teeth total, 12 of them you accidentally destroy.
So how many? So I have 36.
Yep.
I wonder what would like get through these.
One more thing before I go to sleep. All of us should be sleeping inside the cave.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Do take note that Vorpal did say that the likelihood of anyone buying it would be very slim because no one around Wyvreven knows what the Wyverns are to be able to give it a value.
We can make daggers out of them.
You could. You could also pretend that there's another creatures, but these are huge, like sharp teeth. There's not a lot of things in Astria itself by nature that have teeth this big. No. You just like, I'm here to sell some teeth. All right, cool. Let's see them. Just slams it on the table because it's so freaking huge and heavy. What kind of creature did this come from? What do you want it to be?
DM,
Yeah.
past Orville, did it like seem as if he was listening to Joan and I's conversation?
I'm gonna say you wouldn't be able to ascertain that in that situation.
Okay.
That would have been something that you would have had to have noticed while you were whispering to Joan. So the long rest is interrupted. So you guys were about halfway through, so you're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to restart on your rest.
Okay, let's go this time. We'll take the turns. First off, Joan, you take the first watch. Leon, you sleep. You've done enough for tonight. So Joan, first watch. Don, second watch. Orville, third watch. And I'll take the last watch.
I like how nobody asks Vorpal about his really effective arrows and his sudden strange knowledge about wyverns.
Hey, Joan, I got you. The bad news is Orville is dead. But the good news is, happy birthday.
All right, so everyone can take their long rest. We won't roll encounters. It'll just be you guys can take your long rest. Everyone gets their hit points. There's no experience in this campaign.
We get personal experience.
Yeah.
We can say that happened.
What'd you say, Zach?
I'm gonna guess,
6 hours.
like,
One person, unless if you're an elf, can have at least 6 hours of sleep. But effectively, you have to spend 8 in a long rest. So 6 hours has to be spent sleeping, and 2 hours have to be spent either sleeping or on watch.
elves at 4 hours sleeping, 4 hours of like meditation.
I'm gonna say no. You would need the specific tools and training to do so. Um,
Because you gave me the biggest teeth, right, John? Zach? Okay. How big are we talking? How big is this tooth to you?
for what?
How big is the biggest tooth that Wyvern have?
They're all pretty much like the same size. Like they're not like freaking saber tooths where there's like they have massive canines. They're kind of like lizard teeth, kind of like almost like a snake's teeth. Except for it doesn't have like the two fangs. So one of them's probably, since it's large sized, I'd say maybe about 5 inches long. It's about like it would be a decent size for a dagger, not a short sword though.
Okay. Hypothetically, could I turn it? Could I pay somebody to turn it into a
One, okay, probably, but it would be extremely expensive.
Money isn't about
That would be
300
so
gold.
cool.
Money is in fact an object.
That would be so cool. You have all of Leon's money if you want to do that. That is so cool. I am funding that. That is so cool.
Follow it out. Yeah, or
Yeah.
blue.
I have an ocarina somewhere.
Nice.
Trying to find. Where's the black?
Yeah, but one more thing.
The rest of it is, yes.
Like, slips into his trance-like meditation, sleepy time.
Leon, go to sleep. Okay.
Let's check out something before he goes to sleep. 5 more minutes, Jones, please.
Okay.
Warble, does he seem like... Wait, because honestly, I want to know.
Does he seem what? You cut out for like one of the words you were saying.
Like,
Is he elf-like?
He's wearing like full
I mean, yeah, you can't tell.
the way that he carries himself, there's like a certain kind of way that they do that.
I would say I say you can roll me an insight, but it's gonna be decently high. Yeah, you can't tell. You're like looking at him, but then in the back of your mind, you're kind of thinking, "Oh wait, this is technically checking him out." So I'm gonna say if Zach, if you want to make something out of bone, I would say you would probably need something like woodcarver's tools. I would have said smiths, but that's more for metals. Woodcarver tools probably would be more effective. So you would need to have woodcarver's tools, and you would need to be proficient. And then there are actual like rules for like making stuff on downtime. Let me see. This is crafting an item. In addition to the appropriate tools for the item to be crafted, a character needs raw materials worth half of the item's selling cost. So basically, if you were to make a dagger, you would need materials, which you would have well more than enough. Determine how many work weeks it takes to a creature. Divide its gold piece cost by 50. So like the average price of a dagger, and divide it by 50, and that's how many weeks it would take to craft it. A character, you can complete multiple items in a work week if the item's combined cost is 50 gold piece or lower. Items that cost more than 50 can be completed over long periods of time as long as the work in progress is stored in a safe location. Multiple characters can combine their efforts, divide the time needed to create an item by the number of characters working on it. Use your judgment when determining how many characters can collaborate on an item.
What's the idea?
A character needs to be proficient with the tools needed to craft an item and have access to the appropriate equipment. Everyone who collaborates needs to have the appropriate tool proficiency as well.
What's the idea?
So would I need like pledging if I wanted to roll?
I was gonna say, are you alright there, buddy? So, if you wanted to craft this dagger out of bones, you would need that and proficiency with it. And it looks like it takes... So it's going to take you 25 work weeks. Which is... Hold on. This is weird. For every day of downtime you spend crafting, you can craft one or more items with a total market value exceeding 5 gold. If something you want to craft has a market value greater than 5, you make progress every day in 5 gold increments until you reach the market value of the item. Okay. So, in addition to the 25 days, for every downtime you spend crafting, you must expend raw materials worth half the total market value every day. So, so every day you have to spend a gold getting materials to make it. Like, that's what it says. If it's greater than... So it would cost you 25 gold to essentially make it in 25 days. Yes.
Thanks to my spell check.
That does not make sense. But I digress.
Hey, it doesn't make sense. It makes dollars.
Cool, simply. Anyway, obviously, regardless of how long it should take, he's probably not going to be able to take it tonight. Not just for the fact that he doesn't have wood carving tools. So, question. On my, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. When it comes to my turn for watch, towards the end, like right before everybody starts like waking up, I'm gonna like nudge awake Leon.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What do you want?
Okay. Sorry, hold on. To interrupt you, it says that you can craft one or more items with a total market value. No, never mind. What the... Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Why is this going insane? I'm so sorry for everything that is going on.
Continue.
Okay. So Leon, you need to talk.
Yeah.
Leon, get to bed.
The end. It's okay. I'm getting up.
You had 6 hours of sleep.
Yeah. I'm good. Plus everyone's going to wake up and be like, what? You think you should be sleeping more.
Wait, is this in the morning or is this right before you go to bed?
Right before the last watch ends.
Yeah. Like near the end of the last watch.
Okay, so in the morning. Okay.
I think that you were that worried about my health.
Never mind. I thought this was before cuz I thought you said before cuz you said something like before we all go to bed you wanted 5 more minutes to do something. And that's what I thought you were doing, so never mind.
Okay. Okay, so we're going up there.
All right.
Like carefully step over Formal.
You know what? You step over him and you see he goes, if you wanted to walk, you could have just walked around me.
Well, I didn't know if you were awake or not. It would have been rude to wake you up.
To walk around me instead of over me.
Not that you. Okay, never mind.
He'll sit up and stand up and kind of stretch, and then you see that he starts to walk outside.
Just like gonna walk in the opposite direction and just like curve around. You coming, Dylan?
Yeah, I'm coming.
Okay.
And he actually goes to the Wyvern.
Far. Other side.
He's gonna skin the wyvern. Like, that I was totally lying. It's worth millions. And he bought it from the line and sing it.
Anyway, so you wanted to ask me something?
Yeah, look around, make sure Oracle's not within earshot. So what was all with all the molten glowy thing piles back?
Oh, yeah, that. Okay. Expecting one, the full truth, correct?
I'm not sure what I'm reading. I mean, I feel like we got it together for a pretty good amount of time. I feel like we can tell each other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, you did save my life, so I guess I owe you that much. You healed me.
Oh, yeah. You probably would have been fine on the way, but yeah.
I was at 3 hit points. I was close to dying. Like a chicken could come up and peck me and I would have died right then and there.
Well, you would have gotten there. You would have gone, like, death saving throws.
Yeah, but that's not what would be registered with Dylan and Leon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me in character, I know what the death saving throws are. I'm Deadpool in the universe.
No, no. Stop. I'll let you make jokes and stuff like that, but no.
Does Dylan have a god complex?
No.
I got a dog complex. I got this whole universe keeps treating me like a bitch, but yeah.
Because you are. Got him.
I'd like to, when I wake up, or, well, really when I'm done meditating, I'd like to go try to find Leon and Dylan.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sure, you guys can have a one-on-one conversation. We get a one-on-one conversation. Jokes all coming up here. What you guys talking about?
I'm not going to tell them anything that.
I'm not there yet. You talk.
Alright.
I mean, what do you have to go off from?
Very mysterious. Always wearing hoods. Has some weird connection with soul. His parents somehow were able to teach him about the mares, even though it's not. I didn't even know personally. I was at a very prestigious university. It seems like he has a lot of weird backstory.
I mean, like you can assume, but you don't know. I'll never say you can't assume something.
Oh, I am gone. He says he walks off.
So, Leon, I think that we need to figure out a way to intercept the hag. Yes, the poison might be useful once we find her, but until
Well, they're not.
You're gonna what? You cut out. Okay.
So many conversations.
He doesn't say anything. He just you see that he has a dagger out, and it looks to be like one of those daggers. I don't know what they're called, but they're basically ones that look like they have um a very like deep curve of the blade. Yes, and you see that he's basically taking it and like ripping through the flesh and tearing off pieces and wrapping them up in like meat preservation cloths and stashing them away in his pack that he has and his his big satchel. That wouldn't be a satchel. It'd be a backpack, a traveler's pack.
he does want to make something out of it and preserve it.
I mean, I'm not so sure about those three. What do you think? Those three? You mean those two people plus my brother?
I think he's talking about Joan, Leon, and you.
Yeah, brother.
Oh. Yeah. You see that he stands up and slides the pack on his back, and he says, "There's not much to think about. At least not right now. They're not of the importance. You need to get started on finding any areas in where you believe this hag could be. I'll gather them around. We need to make travel immediately. If we can get there before the hag does, we can possibly stage an ambush on it. You can go ahead and further scout to see if you can gather any ideas and where to start." And then he turns and walks over to the group.
Where I'm in conversation with Leon, I assume at this point. So I think that more than likely the hag would choose the most direct route from the city to her lair. So if we know which exit she left from the city, then we could more than likely figure out a rough area where her lair might be.
Do we regain any health points?
Yeah, you took a long rest.
You're at full health after a long rest.
And I regained on myself. Yay! And my bardic inspiration. Also yay!
All the yay.
I have to go, but I had to live fast to get on the right better.
Jeez, what did you drink?
Anyway, since I took 2 watches, I had some time to think, and I actually came up with a possible plan, and you all are willing to hear it.
Vorpal then stands like right next to Joan and says, "Oh, I have to hear this."
Yes, I'm sure you do.
All right. You don't feel any of those. You don't feel any Fae. You don't feel that mysterious, overwhelming, fearful creature looming about within the 6 miles. All right. So what's your plan, Leon?
Alright, so, since we know where the hag is hypothetically going, we could possibly find her abode before she gets there and push after, basically wrecking the place and not being the advantage of getting to her magics and the sort.
Fair enough, but we need to determine where her home might be first.
Yes, and we do have the perfect person for that, don't we, Warble?
Yes, and he's already scouting ahead to see if he can figure an idea of where to look.
Are we directly from back north of right? Wait,
Here, let's go back to the map.
west of the city.
You are on the red triangle. You are the red triangle. You're like right here.
I'm back. What did I miss?
Not much.
And that's it.
All of my friends.
Would you like me to tell you what Leon's plan is?
Well, Leon's plan was basically the same plan that Vorpal had. In fact, it was exactly the same.
As but in the morning, so it's a good thing to refresh over it and get there before the hag gets there. Say.
What,
Not to
the
mention,
hag's lair?
yes. Not to mention, she might have items in her little that might be of use to us against her.
That could be true. If only we had someone that could scout ahead.
Oh yeah, and Vorpal just said that.
Leon just pinches the bridge of his nose. Silly, we were right here, weren't you?
No, while you weren't looking, I went behind that tree towards the restroom.
So what did you say, Joan?
That Vorpal said that Sean scout, and then the other part I don't remember how much I said. I've been meditating on it a little. As I was telling Leon, I think that we have a rough idea of the direction that the hag was heading, but further, we have an idea that the hag likes to be in caves, and mountainsides are generally strewn. Perhaps we could find. Do we know if the hag prefers wet places or dark places?
I'm going to. Can I make a survival check to look for any places where a hag would be? And since we've been in my favorite terrain for more than an hour, my proficiencies are double.
Like you wouldn't be able to like find it, but you could probably think. Yeah, to find it would take you would actually have to spend like hours to do so.
Walking around.
Maybe even days.
It says hag's lair this way.
Exactly, yes, that would be super helpful.
Oh, look, we
Anyway,
gotta get
residing in.
Exactly. So
city.
then, could we not assume that she might be below ground in the lower caves, with an entrance that would likely be at the ground or lower rather than a higher entrance?
So
Yes.
That would be a 41, not a 16. My proficiency does double since I am in my terrain for an hour or more.
No, your proficiency is only +2 instead of the 8.
No, I'm using survival, which is
yeah, which if it would double, it would only add another +2 to your proficiency.
sorry.
That's okay.
Not 21.
So with
Questions, Zach? Why do two things show up whenever you roll something?
he probably clicks it twice.
The way he put his settings.
Oh, okay.
The two next to each other is because he's rolling with you the advantage.
Oh, I thought you meant like the natural explorer.
No.
Oh, yeah. So, with a 16 or sorry, 18, you feel that you have a strong suspicion that an Annis hag would probably choose a cave to be its lair.
I know if there's any caves near area
No.
I mean, besides the cave we actually slept in.
Oh no, perhaps our cave has a secret entrance. Honestly, now that I said that, that makes me really want to check our cave.
So
Pretty sure we would have noticed if something was up.
Vorpal will say, "We should all go catch up with Dawn. We can plan on our travels." And he'll turn around and start walking in the direction where Dawn went.
Leon follows. Feels like he's supposed to.
What do you want to do, Zach?
While walking, could I look myself for anything that looks especially cavey?
Well, hold on a second. Was there anything else you wanted to do, Zach? Okay. Okay. So, in this part of the quest, this is the witch hunt part. So, essentially what's going to happen is all of you have to roll me a survival check, and we will add all the totals together, and if you get a certain number or higher, then you will get a certain result. So I will say, since Dawn, you will have advantage on this survival roll, obviously.
Alright, so I got a 24 then. I got a 7. I am not used to the wilderness. For
Can I
mountain
add
Rest
quests.
doesn't do great.
Okay. So now, when you travel, it actually takes you a couple days. It takes you 2 days until you finally find what you believe is the cave. Mainly because the cave essentially looks like this. I'll draw over here. We'll go back to the battle map so I can actually draw and.
Oh, while we were like searching, could I have gone up like in a couple days we were like looking for the cave? Could I have like talked to Joan
Yeah.
cave? Okay. I would like talk to Joan like, hey Joan, I don't think that Leon is 100% human.
What makes you say that?
I don't know. It's just like he knows things that most humans don't know. And like he had that whole glowy thing happen the other day with young Kyle.
You know the things that most humans don't know, isn't that right?
Yeah, but I know I'm human.
Do you though?
Good question. I never met your father.
Well, if you know things that most humans don't know, maybe
that almost nobody, even people like at the high level, and other than people that are extremely high in levels of academia, know about. And he said his parents told him, but he like lives in the woods.
What's special about your horse?
Honestly, he's kind of forgetting about the person who gave the horse to him in the first place.
Yeah, they had to do like a super lot of research to like get the horse, and it took them forever. And Leon's just like, yeah, I know horses.
The horse knows me. What's special about
Horse
your
knows a lot of things.
Okay. I look around real quiet, like, okay, so, fun fact. The horse was a gift from Lady Green. And it can, like, I can communicate with it telepathically. And whenever I say its secret name, I can summon it. And once per day, I can, like, ride on its back and, like, almost teleport to a place that I've been.
Well, that's certainly handy. What's its name?
Nathaniel.
So, but the horse didn't appear.
Oh, he wanted. That's not its secret name. That's the name he kind of wanted to be called.
Well, what's its secret name?
And only
Like
one
they did in
person,
Whispering.
one person's allowed to know its secret name at a time.
But Miss Green knows it.
Not anymore. She doesn't.
Why did you? What? Miss Green was alive when we.
Yeah, I didn't say she was dead.
Not a,
How does she not know its secret name anymore then?
not anymore. She doesn't.
Because it's magic.
Does something bad happen if more than one person knows its name?
It's kind of dangerous because it's the same. Hypothetically, the same person summoned the horse at the same time. It might create a paradox that could rip the fabric of reality in two or something. I don't know.
I see.
But anyway, Leon knew about my horse.
So, this is essentially the layout before you. Um, let me kind of. So, what you see is essentially you have. I'm gonna just do this. So that's a cave right there. So this right here, these empty spots, is essentially the very like high elevation of the mountainside. It's so high that you would need to have climbing gear to successfully climb atop. Except for this right here, it seems to be a weathered down slope that connects to this cliff right here. And in between it, there are like rocks and boulders, and also the debris of dozens of animals that are native to this land. And you see that there is this fairly large-sized cave over here, and Don, you feel that this just reeks of hag territory. This seems like this seems like a nearly perfect place for an Annis hag to be. What's everyone's passive perception, real quick?
13, I think.
14.
Okay. I'll say that you can I'll say that you're able to decipher that. You can definitely identify what so you see that there are like multiple different tracks. There's ones of what looks to be these nasty, like they're definitely barefoot humanoid footprints, but also maybe the signs of what looks to be imprints of claws digging into the ground. You also see that there are perfect boot prints as well, strewn around this slope, and you also see what look to be the very faint footprints of very small boot prints, like child size. And all of these seem to be like days old. Except for the more adult-sized boot prints. They seem to be you actually find some tracks that seem to be have made fairly recently.
Wait, she's already arrived?
I mean, you're not exactly sure because you don't know if the hag was wearing shoes or not. It's possible.
Are we sure this is our hag, or it might be her like hag coven?
Well, there's only one way to find out.
Can I use my primal awareness on that?
Yeah, if you want to. All right. So you definitely do feel that there is the presence of Fae, but you don't feel that it's anywhere close. It's within like a few miles away. No.
My friend hasn't arrived yet, that's for sure. I can feel it in my gullet. Shall we set up a trap? What do you think is there a few miles?
If it is within the few miles, it may be wise to investigate its lair first for any any help that it may be able to call out.
Yeah, I'm with Warple on that one.
I say a select few of us go inside the lair and investigate. Someone else stays outside to make sure, just in case.
I have an idea. Okay,
Yeah, Dylan.
hear me out. I cast disguise self to make me look like the hag. So if I come across, like, maybe she has some, like, allies or friends, they won't immediately attack us. They'll think, oh, it's my friend, the hag.
And if she is alone,
Then I guess I just wasted that first little spell slot, but I still feel like it's not that big of a deal.
Not to mention they're hags, and they would be able to detect if you're using any magic on yourself.
Would they?
can I do a
It's possible.
check?
Not to mention,
Sir Squishy, I'd rather you not go in there if there's a bunch of hags in there.
if I recall, a disguise spell, a disguise self spell doesn't exactly give you a disguise to make yourself be as large as an Annis hag.
There's also that too. Plus, there are promised children. To return without the children would kind of be an offset, wouldn't it?
How about
Not to mention, you would have had to seen this Annis hag.
instead of that?
Well, I have seen it in divination.
How about
No. When?
Remember when, what's his face cast the divination?
You didn't see that. Only he can see it.
But literally, when you described it to me, like that was
No.
projected on the wall.
No.
I think he was describing it.
I was.
Okay.
He was telling you what he's seeing.
Instead of that, perhaps all of you could go inside and I'll stay near the cave entrance. And I'm quick, I'm sneaky, and I could be able to get in or out depending on where we find.
But there's hags inside. We need to send our most stealthiest.
I shall stay outside and I shall be a lookout.
Very well, Morphle. I can move stealthy at a normal this terrain.
As however, you also are
Regional, not
Crippled.
what?
in a way.
It's purple.
Crippled.
Oh, crippled!
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
We noticed he been limping.
I agree, not our best. Oh, you mean this thing? Yeah. Pulls the peg leg out from underneath him a little, wave around.
I said we don't use any magic.
I don't need any magic.
That's good.
But easy for you guys to say, but like, what am I without magic? Just a very attractive, knowledgeable college student.
You're the face, Dylan.
Dylan, you can use magic after we've figured out where we need to address the hags. Hopefully singular.
I feel like we have at least 10 minutes. I could cast detect magic as a ritual.
You could perhaps stay outside with Horrible and cast the spell while others of us enter the...
Stay close to Vorpal. We need to do this quickly, because if she's a few miles away, we need to do this now.
Okay.
I start going up the rock face toward the...
Vorpal suggests if there is something in there and we are to get attacked and Dylan has been sitting there for a few minutes, he just wasted time for nothing. He might as well just do it now. I think the sound of anything dying would be the sound of you.
Silent fight sounds. Thank you very much.
Pinching the bridge of his nose.
All right. So all of you are going to approach. All right. As you guys round up on this rock,
As Leon is like going, leaving, is just like stay safe to Warble and he sends him a wink, and then he goes.
I like to go a little bit ahead and stealthily if I can.
I feel like I whisper to like Don, like I think Leon's got a thing for Warble.
Do I hear this?
I whispered it. Listen, please. I have no idea. Just my intuition, my inaccurate, sometimes right, sometimes wrong intuition.
you are, as you guys approached, from around the corner comes this strange suit of armor with this red glowing aura, fitting of what should be a person, but is nothing but glowing red aura, and it looks hostile. And Vorpal pulls out his greatsword, and he will tell all of you to run for the cave. He will take care of this thing.
Leon like turns to Dylan, quick inspiration, and then we go.
I run ahead as fast as I can.
I use my bonus action to full inspiration, and then I run.
Yep, we're go.
All right.
I run in.
So
Run stealthily.
with that, we are going to end it right there.
That's fair.
And I will actually, off the screen, off camera, roll attack rolls and damage to see who wins the battle.
Oh no.
I mean, it's Warble. Like, you saw what we did to the Wyvern. I mean, what's one suit of armor?
I mean, it's also hag magic, so you know.
Yeah, but like the Wyvern. Like, you see how much damage he did to the Wyvern?
But that was to the Wyvern.
Curious about many things.
That was to the Wyvern, though. This is different.
Yeah, one is very much magical and melee versus the other is probably less magical. And I'll be curious to see how he does.
Plus melee.
My dad is a great sword, nice and magical. Thank you. So what are you curious about, Leon?
This is me, like outside of the thing.
Okay.
What does Warple's face look like?
You've never seen his face.
No. Yeah, I know. I just want to know. I'm curious.
You'll find out, maybe.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
I don't know. It kind of seems like a usual thing for like a hag to have on hand. I don't know. Hags don't seem like the magical farmer types. They seem more like the, oh, this broom is gonna kill you or something. Maybe I'm making a lot of assumptions.
How dare you assume a hag, okay? You know nothing about hags, okay?
Think, why would a hag even need a suit of armor to protect her if she has friends inside?
Maybe it's sort of like a, hey, watch my shit while I'm gone kind of thing. Make sure nobody comes and steals one of my prized brooms from my broom collection.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say. If someone was here, then
Alright. Well, let's all say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye to the people. We survived the winged fight.
Yes, you did.
He's horrible in his greatness.
You guys have been curious on exactly what he can do. But he hasn't shown everything.
I assume not, but we must exalt his deeds anyway.
Hmm. Oh, you will. Oh, believe me. You will.